Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto is the Perfect Assassin, and this story is made by kyuubecky, and I hope you guys enjoy this video, and to like, to subscribe, to see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
A dark shadow slunk through the night, and it flashed between the trees with a silence that only death can compare to. His mission was simple: get the boy and get out. He paused on the side of the wall and slipped out the note Master had given him the day he showed Master the pictures of the possible new students. Blonde and blue-eyed boy, Uzumaki, Naruto, average height, poor grades, incredible chakra readings. Why would Master want this kid? The world is waiting for the answer. Oh well, a mission is a mission, let's see if this thing works. The paper wavered in the slight breeze as he slowly opened his shirt and placed it gently on his chest. He fought the urge to double over and vomit as the slip sealed away all of his chakra and changed his appearance. His dark hair became a light gray blonde and his smooth face took the appearance of someone much older. A smirk adorned his new features as he slowly made his way through the front gates. Unstopped by the guards. They're both new on the job and definitely need more training. If I can get through this easily with an experimental shape-shifting device, then I wonder what Doc can whip up so that I can get back into the bars here. The town was quiet as he slowly treaded empty streets heading towards his destination. The lights were out and the door lock wasn't much trouble as he silently scouted the whole apartment. Somewhat messy, windows cracked to let out a smell that is still lingering here, but no boy. He slowly made his way to the living room across from the kitchen and entryway and lowered himself into a sitting position behind the couch and stared at the moonless sky as he waited. The boy had to come home soon. Midday after. Where has that boy run off to now? Jiraiya muttered over his bowl of ramen, not like him to be late, especially when ramen is involved. He finished eating and walked out. Maybe Kakashi knows where Naruto has gone. He walked subconsciously towards the Hokage Tower and was snapped to attention when a strange form caught it. Yo, Jiraiya, where's Naruto? Kakashi was on the roof across from where the white-haired man was standing, his usual small orange book in hand. Jiraiya suppressed a smile. His new book was doing well according to the white-haired perv. Actually, I was hoping to ask you about that cause I haven't seen him. Do you think Tsunade would know anything? She might. I'm supposed to be on my way over to see if Sasuke been rescued. Why don't you come along and ask? Besides, having me there might get you through some of the worst of her emotional stress. Hokage's Tower. What do you mean? We can't find him anywhere. Jiraiya and Kakashi were held in the Hokage's fists as she screamed on. Well, Jiraiya looked to Kakashi, who was trying to speak clearly. My plan to keep her calm failed. Now, Tsunade. Jiraiya held up his hands and tried to calm her down. We don't want another incident. The blonde glared at the two perverted ninja before she sighed and let the two down when an Anbu appeared behind her. She could feel his quizzical gaze from behind his mask as he debated with whether he should have waited longer before entering. Sasuke has been found and retrieved, milady. Good. She straightened an astray hair, and the spies. They have been dealt with. All right then. Have your squad begin a search. Naruto Uzumaki immediately. The Anbu tensed but regained himself and nodded before disappearing. Tsunade sighed and slumped down in her chair. I need some sake. I'm on it. And with that, Jiraiya was out the window. I'll rally some of the genin into a team and check Naruto's home. Kakashi was worried. It's not like him to disappear randomly like this. Oh Sasuke, I'm so glad you're alright. Ino glommed herself onto his shoulders. Ino pig. Get your slimy hands off my Sasuke. I mean really. Just cause Sai isn't here to distract you. Ino and Sakura glared each other for a minute and then pounced on each other. Choji and Shikamaru stood off to the side with Lee, Neji, and Tenten. I'll never understand girls, Shikamaru said as he rolled his eyes as Sakura and Ino's cat fight dust cloud inched closer until it dragged Choji into it. Help. Shikamaru, they're going to kill me. Choji was freaking out. Not that the others could blame him. They all saw what happened to the two girls in the Chunin exams. They felt the killer intent of that match. They stood off to the side, moving away from the fighting duo, an innocent bystander, as they rolled and clawed at each other and Choji. That's enough. I need you all to help me on a search mission. Kakashi appeared in a swirl of leaves, stopping everyone in what they were doing. Sakura and Ino were holding each other by the hair and were stepping on Choji, who was every color but the one he should be. I need you to listen. Naruto's gone missing and I need all of you to help. Mixed emotions went through the group and none of them moved at the news as they waited for their sensei to tell them he was just joking. The laughing never came. When did this happen? Ino asked slowly. It was sometime yesterday. He didn't show up for ramen or training with Master Jiraiya today. Was it the Akatsuki? No, we've checked with our spy and he says that they have been keeping on the quiet side. Shikamaru looked up. What if it was someone else who took Naruto? Everyone slowly turned to the genius as he, once again, brought up something that they wouldn't have thought of at that moment. Night before, the door flung open, quicker than his usual jammed nuisance, and Naruto staggered in, hair mangled with burns, cuts, and bruises covering the visible parts of his body. Man, I didn't mean to stay out so late. He unzipped his jacket, letting it fall on the countertop, and grabbed one of the many cups of instant ramen he had stored in his cabinets. Slipping the good-sized cup into the micro ice, he leaned against the counter to wait for his food to cook when something behind the couch caught his eye. A strangely shaped form crouching near the sofa sat motionless as he strained to make out what it was in the darkness of the room adjacent to the kitchen. If Kiba and Akamaru try to dogpile me again, I'll throw them both clear across Konoha. Then he froze altogether. His meal was done, but a strange sensation came over him. He felt this way only on missions when something was going to happen or when someone was in danger. When he was in danger, the sensation would be stronger, and Jiraiya told him it was the fox's instincts of survival kicking in. If the shape made the fox channel this sensation through him, then he wouldn't doubt it. He turned, opened the microwave door, and grabbed the ramen. Kiba usually makes it obvious by laughing, sneezing, coughing, etc. And Akamaru leaves his own sign. He pretended to reach into a cabinet to get a set of chopsticks but grabbed the hidden kunai that was there and slipped it down his sleeve the way he taught himself when he was younger, as the villagers used to enter and try to beat him. Maybe he's getting better at this. He held on to that faint doubt as he decided to get the discovery over with. Kiba, not tonight, I'm too tired. Kiba sighed and his silhouette relaxed. Sorry, I just stayed out too long this time, you know. Quote. Kiba. Naruto tensed and slid the kunai just above his cuff, where it was ready to be pulled quickly. The door wasn't jammed like always, like it was already opened before, and Kiba is just. Naruto threw the ramen at the shape and pulled out the kunai into his waiting hand. Slowly he edged it towards the door, but a shuriken forced him to dodge. He turned to face his opponent, who had managed to place himself between Naruto and the way to escape. The strange appearance of an old man caught him off guard. How'd you figure it out? I thought I had you going. His voice was years younger than his face as he sneered at the blonde that his master wanted by his side. Kiba would have jumped me anyway. Naruto charged at the man only to be thrown into the table, splitting the wooden furniture into many pieces. The man walked up to the splintered mess with a dark look in his eyes. Pathetic little Roo. Naruto's roundhouse kick met his jaw, snapping his head back, and the kunai the blonde had managed to hold onto gouged his shoulder and wedged itself into the wall. He snapped his head back to glare at the boy. Enough. He grabbed Naruto by the arms and dislocated them both in one supple motion. Naruto's eyes widened at the shock of the pain assaulting his senses, but he couldn't yell to announce his situation. The man had placed a wet cloth over his mouth. The stale scent entered his nostrils and filled his lungs with its heavy damp feeling. He felt consciousness slipping away. You have caught his eye. Naruto welcomed the darkness as he felt the man slide something onto his chest, take him up on his back, and then leap through the window into the awaiting forest. He's coming through. Naruto was lying down, he was sure of at least that, but the strange deep gravely voice. No one in Konoha that he knew of had that voice. He felt like he was floating on top of water that was cool and warm at the same time. More subtle clicking and steady far-off breathing as he put together that the man with the strange voice wasn't near. Keep him restrained. A new voice commanded. It was quiet and calm but used to giving commands. His senses slowly returned to him as he sat with his eyes closed. Great. I'm stuck to a table bed thing. But they don't know if I'm awake. Maybe if the two men gasped as Naruto tried to wedge his arm free. And now they do. I'm awake. Uzumaki, can you hear me? A blindfold was removed that he didn't know he existed, and he blinked his eyes open. His gaze met the doctor's, then shifted to see the man completely in black. He was the one speaking. We are not the Akatsuki. We are a different group. Naruto opened his mouth as if to say something but snapped it shut again. He might be lying. The man turned to the doctor who just shrugged. What is your group after? Naruto couldn't resist, he was tired and was stuck in a bad situation. The doctor turned with wide eyes but the other's eyes hinted a spark of joy. It's official then. He smiled, stepped forward as he gently raised the blonde's head, pausing to study the strong look in the cerulean eyes. The smile grew larger and he promptly knocked Naruto out. It's not like him to leave ramen. Sasuke was kneeling next to the dried puddle. Shikamaru nodded and pointed to the table. We know there was a fight and he was taken away, but why? He turned and stared into space, tracing his thoughts. Yeah, how'd you figure that one out? Kiba called, looking through another room. Oh, nothing, just the splintered table, spilled ramen, and bloody kunai wedged in the doorframe. Kiba turned, just like him to get all sarcastic on me. Right. Sakura piped in, we all know that he doesn't go anywhere he doesn't want to without a fight. This is Naruto's knife, Shikamaru. Kakashi was holding out the kunai in a bag. Take this up to Shizune and ask her to see if she can get a blood ID. He nodded and took the bag with him out the door. It's quiet and still. Did they kill me? Naruto sat up slowly and sheets slipped off with the movement. I'm on a bed. So you're the new guy the master's been waiting for. Huh. Don't look like much to me. The girlish voice came from nowhere and footsteps followed. Getting closer. Where? Sorry, no lights. Master's orders. Naruto reached for his holsters. Gone. Crap. They must have taken them while I was out cold. He got into a defensive position and faced the sound. You honestly think that you could take me on? The voice chuckled, well don't bother anyway. I was just supposed to report when you woke up. She muttered under her breath, talk about a boring job. Naruto stood, tense, until he heard her clone dispel. He relaxed and flopped down on the bed and covered his face with his arms. Where am I? PACT, answered a familiar male voice. A big metal door slid open quietly, letting in the blinding light, and there stood the man in black. You. Naruto recoiled instinctively. What the crud do you want from me? I told you I have an offer for you. So please look into it before you decide so rashly. Naruto sat, waiting, remaining tense. Is the Professional Assassin Center of Training. You should consider yourself very lucky. And why is that? Because you were handpicked by me personally and I am the Master Assassin. Leader of this whole organization. Naruto relaxed a bit. What if I don't want this? Why wouldn't you? Now let's look at the rest of the facility. Well, the blood is certainly not Naruto's, but we haven't been able to match it with anyone in our archives. We've sent a sample to the village hidden in the sand and they have no matches either. Shizune stood facing the others in the Hokage's office. She hated to be the bringer of bad news. Well, what kind of lead is that? Sasuke had snapped. We are all finally back together again, but no, some other stupid thing has to happen and send everyone reeling all over again. Every started to zone out from his rant while Sakura tried to calm him down and try to get some real information. We've been checking in with our spy watching the Akatsuki more often and the latest response was the same as the others. But Gaara, Kankuro, and Temari are coming over with the latest news on some of our shared traitors disappearing. They think they have a lead and Gaara has had a personal experience with someone who caused one of the disappearances. This place is huge. Naruto followed the man he now called Master through the entire facility. This whole place is one big underground safe house. This is one of a chain of many. Safe house. Why would you need it if you're the leader? The man smiled and glanced back at Naruto. I usually stay here and help train my students. But once they're good enough, they start doing hits of their own. You didn't answer my question. Naruto stared the man in the eyes, which made his smile grow wider. You've got guts, kid, but in no time you'll learn to respect me. As for your question, let's just say that if the student has to resort to killing in the open, well, I doubt people will just stand there and let them get away. I see. And he remained quiet for the rest of the tour, which went on for another 30 minutes until they came to a stop in front of Naruto's new room. So, do you think you'll want to stay? It couldn't hurt. Plus I'll get to see more villages this way, Sue, sure. The man's eyes shone. I thought you would put up more of a fight. But then he shrugged. Just remember there is a curfew and the only exceptions are those who are leaving or returning from a hit. Naruto nodded and walked the automatic doors to the welcoming bed. The next morning, Naruto woke to the sounds of someone banging on the door. Hey, Sleeping Beauty, get up. Master wants to see you at the simulator. He jumped from his bed and looked for his clothes, which were missing. He looked everywhere until he saw a dark pile near the doorway, and it turned out to be a black shirt and shorts with all his equipment on top. Now he's stealing my clothes. Great. Wonder what he'd say if I asked for them back. When he neared the place called the simulator, there was already a group of other students, as the master called them. Ah, Naruto, I trust that your sleep was a restful one. Come watch with us. Puzzled, he approached the glass, and inside was a young man who was obviously doing pulley. He's down, Naruto said as the man collapsed. Stop the test. The group of people gasped and glanced to Master. I know you're new here, but you must see that I am the master and I call the shots. Naruto glanced back to the young man. The enemies were robotic but could still do damage, or even kill. If you don't let him out, he'll die. All he got was a laugh from Master. You think I don't know that? Naruto's eyes grew. Fine then. He lowered his head. If you won't let him out, I'll have to help him. He leapt through the raised doorway and landed kneeling next to the man. Hey, are you all right? Who are you? Wah, what are you doing here? I'm here to help you. So if you can't fight, stay down and I'll take care of it. Three big creatures were forming a semicircle around them. Alright, time to show these jerks what they got themselves into. Hinata and Kiba were walking hand in hand away from the Hokage's tower. Ever since they started going out, they hit some rough spots and hard trials, but now it'll be alright. Sasuke and Sakura can handle it. Kiba squeezed her hand. I'm not so sure. I mean, Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto were like family. We'll think of something. As they approached Ichiraku's, the full weight of what they were about to do hit them. Sakura was sitting with her boyfriend waiting for Hinata and Kiba to show up. I wonder what they wanted to tell us. Sasuke whispered to her while glancing around. Yeah, I know. And what's going on? Almost everyone we know is here. Hey guys. They looked up to see the other couple standing before them. The others in the restaurant were looking up now, paying full attention. What did you want to tell us? Sakura was being wary. Well, as you know, Naruto has been missing for a while now, and we were just summoned by Lady Tsunade. What are you getting at, Kiba? Sasuke didn't like where this was going. She's calling off the search for Naruto in assumption that he's dead. No. Sasuke. Wait. He was standing now and Kiba got in front of Hinata. I know he's not dead. And if you won't help look, then I'll go on my own. And with that he left. That's why you were all here, huh? The others nodded. Hinata was quiet. Sakura, we're sorry and we want to help, but we have to take care of the village first. For some reason Hinata was staring very intently at her chopsticks. Consider this as a gift. She whispered and handed the sticks over to a totally confused Sakura. Wait a second. She looked closer at one of them and noticed tiny engravings. She left, and when she got there and looked closer, it's a coded message. Naruto lay in the dark room recapping the events. The stupid simulator was too easy. Of course that's because of my extra chakra. How did Master know about that? A sudden stab of fear nailed him. What else does he know? Who does he know about? His thoughts were interrupted when the sliding doors opened and the master stepped in, followed by a man Naruto had never seen before. He sat up on his bed. What do you need? We need information, began the man in a cold tone. Just a few basic questions, and don't worry about Jin here. He just takes a while to warm up to him. Ma said with a smile. We're sure you've had suspicions about us and how much we know about you. Well, this is ironic. So I'm sure that through this questioning we'll reveal our levels of understanding. Let's begin. Alright, I've got nothing to hide. Smooth, that's not suspicious. Parents? None. The names? I have no idea. Both men's eyebrows rise. What I've been told was that my father was reclusive and died before I was born. My mother was the same, but she died in childbirth. Place of birth? Unknown. As a child I was exiled because I was blamed for my mother's death. Not a total lie, but not the truth either. Current home. I move around a lot, but when you guys came to get me, I was finishing my stay in Konoha. That's it for personal. Allergies. For now, on to medical. None. Injuries from the past. None. Mortal wounds or scars from the past. None that show up. So many memories came back, he'd lost track of how many villages had tried to kill him. for being the Fox's pawn container. Well then, I guess we're done here. They all relaxed and an awkward silence settled in until MA finally cleared his throat. Thank you, Jin. That's all for now, you are dismissed. The man called Jin nodded and then bowed. Dang, obviously MA is someone I should respect. As the doors slid back closed, Master turned his gaze back on Naruto. You were a ninja or you've had some past training. Oh, you think so? No one gets past level 6 without some sort of past training. Oh, you also have an abnormally large amount of chakra. Okay, no more clues for him. Let him tell you how he knows all this. When Naruto started to glare at him, he just chuckled. Clever, I figured it out when you finished the simulator. You was just beginning to sweat. Well, you know the basics. Want a cookie? Now he smiled and actually laughed. No thanks on the cookie, and yes, I do know the basics, but I want to know why. Why what? Why you have such a massive amount of chakra? You could say I was born with it. Involuntarily. Really? His wide eyes made him seem honestly curious. Just keep quiet, maybe he'll go away. I would really like to know. Naruto didn't respond but lay back down and stared at the ceiling. MA sighed and went to the door. When it opened, there was no blinding light this time. It's late and almost time for curfew. See you in the morning. The sun was starting to set when Sasuke was washing the dishes. I wonder if Sakura is doing better than I am. As he gazed out of his window and watched the sunset. Sasuke. He was startled by Kiba's voice behind him. Sorry, but I was worried. You haven't been out since we told you about, you know. Quote, comma, dot, quote. You okay? His eyes were filled with sympathy, but Sasuke could see that behind that Kiba was in as much pain as everyone else. Yeah, I'm okay, I guess. I was going to see Sakura and see if she was doing any better than I was. Oh, good idea. Ino has already headed over there. Ah, they are better friends than most people think. Well, let's go, and thanks, Kiba. And with that they left Sakura's kitchen. So you guys really do intend to help us after all. Sakura was bouncing up and down with excitement since she figured out the code about 2 minutes after she got home. Why didn't you come tell me all of this earlier? I was moping at home when we could have been here planning something out. Maybe even get Kakashi involved. Well, none of the adults can really help us unless we show them how serious we are about doing this. Ino was no longer sitting with the rest of them. She was pacing and muttering to herself. What if we refuse to do any more missions until we are allowed to go look for him? Shikamaru looked up. That's a bit too rash and Lady Tsunade would never agree to it. Maybe if we agree to do missions but they could give extra time for us to look. That might work. We should really try to talk to Lady Tsunade about this plan. Naruto woke up way before he expected to and was starving for ramen. They brought food and water occasionally to his room, but they enhanced it for a perfect immune system, so it didn't taste very good and it was definitely not filling. He looked at the clock. 5:30. MA would come and get him in 1 hour. He went through the sliding doors and headed for the cafeteria. It wasn't well lit, but the chef was a kindly older woman and she smiled when she handed him the ramen. Wonder why she doesn't say anything. He thought this over as he ate. He was just finishing up when 3 very fat ninja tried to scare him. Instead, he turned and just stared at them. Finally, one of the boys, Ogaku, spoke up. What's wrong, Blondie? Couldn't stay asleep all alone. This blubber nugget group had been on his back since he beat the simulator and destroying their records for highest level. Man, talk about holding a grudge, sheesh. Wish they would just go crawl back into whatever spat 'em out. Well, cutie pie, the fat chick began, why don't you answer my search brother's questions? Naruto shuddered hearing her call him cutie pie, made him want to go rot under a rock. Just ignore them and hopefully they'll go away. He thought as he went to throw his food away. Ogaku followed him. Too good to talk to me, Blondie. He snapped his fingers and the other 2 waddled up behind him. Naruto suppressed the urge to burst out laughing. I can see the family resemblance. You're asking for a few missing limbs, cutie. Fat chick's brothers reached for their swords. Naruto knew that even with the blades this group wouldn't take more than 5 minutes, but he was also trying to blend in as a level 1, as MA called the newbies around here. They all saw movement, which was the chef talking into an intercom. Move away from the speaker right now, screamed Ogaku. When she didn't, all 3 of them charged her. Naruto hadn't intended to get involved, but his plan wasn't worth her life. So when he appeared in front of the charging group, suddenly it startled all of them to a stop, except the girl. She kept coming and even started screaming, but a solid elbow to her oversized gut stopped her and a roundhouse kick put her back where she belonged. How dare you hit her? She's a girl. Naruto shrugged, must have mistaken her for a charging hippo. Sorry. That really set the two boys off. Say goodbye to your arms, kid. Ogaku gave what looked like a good swing, but Naruto grabbed his wrist. Why, you gonna eat them? He sneered as he twisted the arm until he heard the crack. He took the blade as Ogaku howled in pain. He turned towards the last one standing. Well, Naruto. Looks like you have far more experience than I assumed. So I'm moving you up. I guess I should start training now. Can't believe it's been 3 months since I got moved up. Naruto had spent most of his days in the gym, and during the beginning he was teased, until they put him on the bench. After that, things quieted down. When he wasn't being drilled by his master in an arena, he was either in his room or working out, but lunch was his time to think over his ramen. I'm guessing that you aren't sick of ramen yet. Naruto looked up over the mountains of empty bowls to see his master smiling back. Hey, if your wife wasn't so good in the kitchen, maybe I wouldn't eat this much. I'm guessing that was a compliment. What are you doing after this? I'll probably go to the gym again, YMA. The master smiled. Naruto was the only one that got away with that nickname. Ever since he saved his wife from Ogaku, he had felt a connection to the boy. Well, if you need me, I'll be in the gym for a while. Tell your wife it was good. I will, but, he gestured to the empty bowls, I'm sure she already knows. He waved as Naruto walked off. When he passed an all-girls table, they waved and smiled, and when he waved back with a smile, they all gasped and started giggling as they turned back with hushed whispers. Half the boys' table just scowled and the other half just focused on their food. When he was gone, some of the boys started taking jabs and getting glares from the girls. Like he needs to work out. Ugga, he's such a disgusting piece of crap. A kid with bright red hair said loud enough for everyone to hear. Oh, just shut up, Shinto. You're just jealous because he showed you up in lifting and now none of us gives you a passing glance. A pretty brunette stood, offering up the challenge. Some of the boys went to another table while the rest started poking Shinto and laughing when he tried to shove them away. No, I just don't understand why you guys keep trying. It's obvious that he doesn't want to date any of you. Several boys nodded, others just got up and went to another table. A lean redhead stood up and smiled. Personally, he flipped some hair out of his eyes. I think I can wait this one out. And why is that, Zata? His ex-girlfriend stood up. It's not your gentlemanly attitude towards us for sure. Haha, I know you guys will come whimpering back to you so you can use us to your pleasure. Zata smiled, confirming what she had just said. Uagush, you guys are just sickening pieces of trash. She left the table and stormed out of the lunchroom. Narelle's right. You guys are jerks and most of you are just using us. Another girl said, standing in front of the boys' table. She jabbed a finger over to the other table of boys who left. Why can't you guys be more like them? Zata smiled again as she put her hands on her hips. He stood and slowly walked over to her. He circled slowly and licked his lips as he looked her up and down. I think you should try to get to know me better, sweetheart. He backed her into the wall and whispered in her ear. Just you and me later today. You're disgusting. She yelled and spit in his face. I would NER. Zata slapped her and then pinned her onto the wall. Silly little babe, you shouldn't test my patience. Who knows when He stopped when someone grabbed his arm from behind. Lesson 1. Always respect the ladies unless they're on the search battlefield. A sharp series of cracks came before Zata's screams. Are you alright, Liana? She looked up into the green-blue eyes of a tall, well-built man. He's hot. She started blushing when he smiled but managed to stutter her thanks before running back to her table and getting absorbed by the giggles and whispers of her table. Master still sat at the table where Naruto had left him as he watched the whole scene play out. You know, it's almost like one of those high school dramas. He turned to see his wife standing behind him with an entertained smirk on her face. Well, technically we are a school, sort of. I can see you are determined to find him and your plan is very doable. Lady Sunid was facing the window so they couldn't read her expression. Honestly, I didn't want to stop looking for him either, but I was under so much pressure and no one else could come up with something. She turned now with a bright and happy expression. This will work and I fully support you guys. Thank you, Lady Tsunade. Sakura gave a leaping hug to her sensei and the others began to cheer. Wait, before you all throw a party, I just want to give you something to think about. She had everyone's attention now. What if Naruto doesn't want to be found? The room became very, very still and everyone's eyes were wide with fear at this realization until Hinata spoke up with boldness that was unlike her. Why wouldn't he? He was kidnapped, and even if he doesn't want to be found, we are his best friends. He would at least let us know he's okay. Everyone turned their astonished gazes at her and she blushed and hid her face into Kiba's embrace. That was amazing, sweetheart. So true, I think we should go for it. Joji said, finally finishing his chips. A knock on the door interrupted them and Tsunade changed her expression to one she used on anyone who was just knocking. Come in. The door slowly creaked open, revealing Kakashi with his nose in a book. Lady Fifth, I want to talk to you about the search for Naruto. He strolled in, not looking up from his page. I really think that you should recon. He looked up now and seeing everyone watching him, his visible eye widened. What's all this? Well, Sensei, Sasuke began, we really wanted to continue searching for Naruto, so Shikamaru came up with a plan and Lady Fifth said it'd work. His visible eye widened even more. Sakura was quietly pondering something and then she spoke up. What are you doing here, Master Kakashi? Everyone looked at him now and he actually closed his book. Well, you all looked so sad when it was announced that the search was ended and I knew it really wasn't something that you guys could get over easily, so here I am. He gestured with his arms in emphasis. Or you really do care. Sakura actually hugged the poor unsuspecting man when she used the cliché line. How come he gets the surprise hug? Sasuke feigned a jealous pouty face. I care too. Sakura just rolled her eyes and gave him a hug too. Lady Tsunade smiled and cleared her throat to get their attention. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go break the news to the rest of Konoha. She sighed as she went through the door. Joji turned to the group. I'm all for barbecue right now and for once I think I'll buy for this celebration. Let's go. Everyone laughed and they knew they were all thinking the same thing, dang. He can move fast when it's for food. They all laughed again and went, at their own pace, out the door. So if you knew he was such a jerk, then why'd you go out with him? Naruto had finished his workout and was leaving the gym when he saw a really pretty brunette giving the floor the death glare. I don't know. I guess it's because I was lonely when my search brother left, and I was so worried that he might not come back, so I needed someone that I could just talk to and be comforted by. Yeah, I get that, so your search brother did come back, right? She laughed lightly. Yes, he came back, and when Master figured out why I was putting up with Zata's crap, he just started assigning us together. I stopped worrying so much and broke up with Zata after that. Is your brother younger than you? No, I just thought that maybe that was why you were worrying so much. Oh, it's because we're the last two survivors of our clan. She glanced at him with big violet eyes. What's wrong? Well, apparently I'm the last of my family. So I guess I can relate. He smiled at her, which definitely made it clear why all the girls wanted him. Ah, there you are, my boy. Master was approaching. Come along to the arenas, we have work to do. Okay. He turned to her one more time. I'll see you around. And with that he left. Okay, bye. She smiled once he turned away and headed back to her room. He's not so bad after all. Hey. Kizuo was lying on his bed reading a book. Hey. She walked over to the mirror and put her long hair into a ponytail and flopped down on her bed. You okay? He shut his book and looked over at her. Yeah, I was talking to the new guy. Kizuo laughed. The one all the girls are attacking each other over. She smiled. That's the one. She stopped smiling now. You know he lost his family too. You told him about that. Why? It's not some big secret and he was just letting me vent. Why'd you need to vent? Zata. Oh, it was quiet for a while, you know. She glanced over at him. I broke his arm after you left, 'cause he slapped Liana. Now she sat up and stared at him. Her violet eyes were flaring. He slapped Liana. Now Narelle, I already broke his arm. He gave her a look that she knew better than to test. She lay back down muttering something about breaking the other one when a patrol came by telling everyone that it was now past curfew. Kizuo flipped the switch and Narelle knew their conversation wasn't over yet. So, is he after every girl in the academy? I don't think so. He was nice but didn't try to flirt once, and all the girls are flirting with him to the point that they look desperate. But from what I heard at the table, some girls tried to ask him out and he politely declined. She didn't mention how she felt better now that it seemed he wouldn't date any of them. Has Taisha gotten to him yet? Narelle made a gagging noise as soon as the name was out of his mouth. That sleazy tramp is on a long recon mission. Well, she can stay on that mission. All of the guys are so much more peaceful without her around, that is until he showed up. Was that a tinge of jealousy there, Kizur? She teased. Not jealousy, just frustration. Narelle laughed. So what are they saying about him? Just raw stupidity and jealousy on their part, cause none of them have girlfriends anymore. Also some of the dumber guys want to fight him. Kizur laughed. They wouldn't last more than 5 minutes. What makes you say that? Well, for one thing, he's not physically weak at all. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone knows that. On top of that, most guys aren't really strong anyway. Quote. Well, what else, Kizur? You've felt his chakra. He wouldn't even have to attack. He could just dodge until they all drop from exhaustion, and still have chakra to spare. Yeah, that's completely possible. And there's something else that he's hiding, even from Master, though that makes it more suspicious. Quote. Narelle, you sure he's really hiding something? Not 100%, maybe he's shy or antisocial, but it really feels like it. Now I'm all curious. In the morning. Next morning. The twins woke up to someone banging on the big metal doors. Guys. WAAAAKEUUUUUP. And the banging got louder. Kizur sighed and opened the door to see Shinto. Oh good, you're up, now let's go, hurry. Shinto was never like this, so they hurried and went to follow him. When they caught up to Shinto, he was gaping at the scene. Zata was towering over a cowering Liana in a corner, and right as he raised his leg to kick her through the wall, Narelle charged. I'll never get there in time. His leg was closing in and everyone knew that his kick could shatter bone was going to be delivered. What the? There was a dull thump when Zata's foot landed in the vice-like grip. No one knew how Naruto did it, but he got there with time to spare, and when he saw Liana cringing with fresh tears in her eyes, the instinct to defend her took over. Zata's eyes widened when Naruto glared at him, and all at once he knew that he was going to go into a world of pain. You should have learned the first time. He spoke barely above a whisper, I won't have mercy on you. Zata laughed so hard he was tearing up, until he felt himself flying through the air. Did he stop? Everyone's eyes widened as Zata's body crashed through one wall, and another, until they counted 6 large crashes. Master appeared right as the second crash occurred, and then he walked through the holes until they heard a sigh. Naruto, what do you have to say for yourself? When he came out with Zata unconscious in his arms. I should have thrown him harder. He turned away and headed into the cafeteria. Master sighed. He'll probably be in intensive care for at least 2 months. And then he disappeared. Narelle grabbed her search brother's hand and literally dragged him to the cafeteria with Liana right in front of them. You hungry, Narelle? Sure, Kizur, I'm just hungry. Just hungry. Ugh, you're as bad as a paranoid father sometimes. Kizur was still laughing when they all went through the doors of the cafeteria. When they entered the cafeteria, they were all surprised to see all the others laughing and chatting as if nothing had happened. Liana quickly disappeared into the crowd while Kizur and Narelle stood taking in the scene. You'd never think that they were training to be assassins. Narelle said with disgust. Well, Kizur glanced over to his sister. The walls are supposedly soundproof, they probably didn't hear anything. But the story will get around soon, don't worry. He nudged her when she sighed. I wasn't worried about how the story will spread, I'm just trying to figure out where that guy went. She started weaving between the tables with Kizur close behind. This is one of those days where I hate being short. Narelle, he's over here. She quickly went over to him and followed his gaze. Liana was already there at the table with the blonde, and she looked up and smiled, as if on cue. He turned. Hey. When they stopped and said nothing, he continued, you two gonna sit or stand there? Kizur smiled and nudged his sister forward. Liana returned her attention back to Naruto. Anyways, besides the thank you, I wanted to know why you bothered to step in at all. His polite smile widened and both girls blushed bright search pink. Well, news travels fast here, you know, and I heard what happened yesterday when I was in the gym. Then this morning when I heard you running by my door and what turned out to be Zata following, I didn't want to leave you to take a beating. Because I didn't have that protection and I know how it feels when you scream and no one comes. Well, thanks again, Her eyes revealed her loss and Naruto smiled his classic grin, getting the same reaction from the girl. Naruto Uzumaki. It's like every time the pieces fit it just leads to another dead end. Shikamaru sighed in exasperation. As he formed the sentence he glanced around at his friends that weren't on mission. Sakura and Sasuke were on the couch with Sakura curled up in his arms as he stroked her hair. Ino was incessantly scrubbing the same part of a dish that was probably perfectly clean. Akamaru whined as Kiba just kept hitting his head on the wall and Shino was in the recliner next to Kiba trying to get him to stop. Shikamaru closed his eyes and rubbed his temples as he tried to block out Ino's squeaking plate and Kiba's dull thudding. Kiba, please stop doing that. Shino was barely audible but it didn't matter, everyone else was dead silent. Sakura scooted over to make room for Kiba who had acquired a red mark on his forehead. Sasuke gripped Sakura's hand. I wish we could at least know he's okay. They all heard a stifled sob. That stupid knucklehead. Ino had stopped rubbing the plate and rubbed her arms around herself. Sakura got up and walked cautiously to her friend and wrapped her arms around her. The sobbing became louder and became heart-wrenching as Ino broke down weeping. I was mean to him and he never complained once. Ino, it's okay. It's okay. He forgave you and didn't let it get him down. Sakura stroked her back and hushed her until the sobs quieted down. But nothing, Ino. Kiba shocked everyone when he looked up. Naruto not the kind of guy to hold a grudge against his friends. He really did forgive you even if he didn't say it. 8 months later, he could hear them moving below. The growls and grunts were too loud for a normal wolf pack. He glanced down to the ground and smirked. The whole pack was down there, he. The alpha's loud eerie howl shattered what little silence that had managed to form as it called for the last member of the pack that would never again show its face. Naruto edged his way back to the trunk and scaled up to the top of the tree in hope of fresh air. Why does this simulator have to be so freaking humid? He sighed deeply and let the strong breeze blow his now long hair. He sat slowing his heart rate back down and recalled the whole day. 3 months earlier. Naruto, come here please. Ma didn't have to wait more than 5 seconds before the blonde teen was kneeling in front of him. You asked for me, master. Ma studied the black-clad ninja. You've been on over 100 missions but could have done so many more. Explain why you rejected all of these. He demanded as he dropped a fairly thick folder next to Naruto. Ma, could we talk in private? Please. He fingered the folder as Master studied the uneasy tone his student had taken. Yes, come with me, Naruto. He rose silently and the two went to a private room. When the door clicked shut, he turned to the teen. Okay, Naruto, spill it. Well, here's the whole story. I do live in Konoha and I never moved around until I joined this group. Both my parents are dead. My mom I have no idea and my father died in the kyuubecky attack. Master was silent but his eyes asked a million questions. Well, Naruto kept his gaze firmly locked on his master's face. I'm very impressed that you were able to keep this from me for so long and I'm glad I've finally earned your trust. Naruto visibly relaxed and a grin worked its way back to his face. Now that we've gotten through that, will you explain your abnormal amount of chakra, and why you did the quotation thing on attack? The grin grew wider. Those go together. He pulled off his hooded shirt and lifted the chain mesh revealing the seal on his stomach. It was the first time Naruto had seen Ma show any sign of shock like he did when he saw the seal. Kyuubecky was being controlled by someone evil and my father was the Hokage at the time and used a special jutsu to seal the fox into his newborn son. I am his son and my extra chakra is from the fox whose chakra I can tap into at will. Why, you're serious? Master didn't look convinced. You honestly expect me to believe that you are a Jinchuriki? No, I don't expect you to believe it, but I can prove it to you. Really? His voice was laced with disbelief and skepticism. Naruto smirked and bowed his head. Okay, Ma. The silence that followed became filled with a dark and sinister feeling. Master stiffened as he watched his pupil raise his head. The blood-red eyes that met his gaze were more animal than human and the hand that came between that gaze was clawed. Is this enough proof for you? Ma stayed silent as Naruto asked the question because he noticed the fangs that replaced Naruto's normal canines. I believe you, Naruto. The dark aura that filled the room seemed to be vanished as it re-entered Naruto's body. Naruto. His student seemed dazed and was swaying. A moan escaped his lips as he slumped forward into MA's arms. Ugh, stupid fox, needs to learn how to shut up. Are you alright, Naruto? I'll be alright, he regained his feet. Kyuubecky feels that if I use his chakra it should be for more than just 1 minute. Another moan pressed its way through and Master stepped forward. Are you sure? Yeah, he'll calm down soon. Master allowed him some time to recover from whatever the fox was doing. Now that we have gotten past that ordeal, please explain why you are so picky about your mission choice. Well, you see, because I'm from Konoha, I don't want to do anything that will cause any harm to the village. I still am only going after anyone that tries to attack Konoha. Alright then, that's understandable that you want to defend your home, but that doesn't cover the fact that you are also helping Suna. Well, you see, due to past experiences, I have friends there and one of them is the new cage. MA was silent and expressionless as he thought through what his pupil just said. When he smiled, Naruto narrowed his eyes. If you intend to use this information to test me, then I will do everything I can to protect my friends and our homes. At this, Master's eyes grew wide and his mouth opened in surprise before slipping into an even bigger smile. I've always liked your guts, kid, and now I see that I was right to choose you from the others I could have taken. Naruto shifted, uncomfortable by the change in tone of his master's voice. Okay. Ha ha ha, here's the deal, Naruto. He paused to make sure the blonde was listening and his grin didn't move. I want to see if you are worthy of being my apprentice. Present. And now I'm stuck in a tree in the third hardest simulator trying to kill off a whole pack of mutated wolves. Naruto sighed again as he watched the fake clouds drift by. He closed his eyes and let the breeze cool him down. The first to go was the only one that could climb really well. He was the youngest of the 7-pack members and was pretty easy to take down, but the others will probably much harder. He thought back to when he first walked into the simulator and how he noticed many pictures that hung near the door. Those who have tried and failed this test are now remembered as a warning for those who make it this far. Loud rustling brought his mind back to the tree. The grunting alarmed him to the closeness of the creature as he slipped back into the humid canopy. The tree directly across the clearing was shaking violently and the gashes in the trunk were fresh. Naruto edged his way out to the edge of the branch to watch one of the wolves try to cling to the trunk even though it was gliding down. The mutant was all alone and the pack was nowhere to be seen. Mistake number 1. Stray away from the group. He smirked as he slipped the kunai out of its holster, but paused to watch what it was doing, hoping to get some more information about what he was dealing with. It would run, leap and sinks its claws into the trunk and try to hoist its body onto the nearest branch, just like the 7th. Looks like they can learn from each other when they need to, and if their minds are linked then they probably share other senses. The creature tried again and this time managed to pull itself up onto the branch and steady itself. Once its strange gaze seemed to lock on, Naruto stiffened. Its eyes were not there. It literally had no eyes, just a simple black cloth covered where they should have been. That doesn't make sense. There is no way that this thing could navigate at all unless it uses those big ears. Naruto's kunai buried itself into the creature's skull and then he took off to the tops of the trees once more before the pack arrived. Outside the simulator. Well, looks like he's pieced it together and managed to get ahead of schedule. MA sat in front of the few students that had found time to come and see how Naruto was doing in the simulator. There were one large screen that followed Naruto and below it were 7 smaller screens that allow the viewer to see through the mutant wolf's eyes. 2 of which had gone black when their bearers were killed. Narelle, Kizuo, and Liana were in the front row and watching intently. Over the months they had eaten with Naruto and a strong bond had formed between the twins and him. Liana, however, seemed to grow more indifferent and it seemed that she was finally giving up trying to get him to date her and that she could live with being friends with him. Now when Naruto was entering the third hardest simulator, dubbed Hunt or Be Hunted, they felt that they should be there to root for him. Go Naruto. Woohoo. Take those suckers down. Liana jumped back up onto her chair and waved her oversized pom-poms while everyone's eye twitched. Looks like you're still trying to win him over, huh, Liana? Narelle tugged her friend back down to her chair. You know he can't hear you, right? Oh, don't act all high and mighty, Narelle. Her friend wore a smug grin. I've seen your glances to him. You've totally fallen for his self-sacrificing, caring demeanor. I did not. Even though she denied it, her cheeks burned bright pink. Kizuo was laughing his head off. Wow, and you two are supposed to be the closest of friends. Sheesh. I'm glad no girl has caught my eye and also nabbed Naruto's. The girls glared at him and he tossed them a bright smile. What if Naruto started dating Narelle? What then Kizure? Liana got the reaction she wanted because the smile vanished. Inside the arena. Okay, so there were 7. Naruto was using a senbon to etch the information he'd gathered on the pack into what had to be one of the biggest leaves he'd ever seen. The one I call Alpha is the leader and carries a machete. No special abilities. The second in command I call Eyes. Has the sharpest eyesight and from the looks of it can see in the dark. Third I call Legs, speed of the pack, and the fourth I named Ears. Bat-like hearing. Fifth is Nose, can smell me at least 2 miles away. Sixth is Radar, he never sleeps and always seems to know which way to face when I'm near. Finally the 7th, Climber, youngest of the pack and could climb incredible heights. He used the senbon to draw a line across Climber and Ears and slipped the leaf back into his pack and headed for the river. He knew better than to travel on the ground, but the pack was making good use of their newfound ability to climb. Neji. Pleaase. Joji was being relentless about taking a break and the Hyugas knew it. After all, he had used the most chakra out of all of them and he was the one who had carried the stupid cat most of the way. Alright, we'll stop when we reach that river over there. Joji brightened and looked in the direction of said river. What river? I don't see any river, hey. Crud, he saw me deactivate my Byakugan. That's no fair, Neji. Don't worry, it's closer than you think. And he was right because soon they reached a steady flowing river with a nice shady forest on the other side. Once they reached the edge, Choji plopped down and started to open his pack. No Choji. Don't. But it was too late. The sadistic cat sprang from the pack and leapt into the forest. Choji's sweat dropped while Neji got all twitchy. Hinata sighed. Guess we'll have to catch him all over. Or, crap. Never thought I'd see this spawn of Satan ever again. They all turned to Canopy as a tall, well-built blonde casually walked towards them on the other side of the river. In his arms was the cat. Choji stood with a bag of unopened chips in his hands. No way. Naruto. Is that really you? He looked over and his expression gave way to his shock. How did you guys get in here? You let him get AWAAAYYY. Ino was pissed off and poor Choji was taking all the heat. Place EA as E Street op P Shak Inging M me. His eyes were all swirly and his head was snapping back and forth. How could you do that? Why didn't you bring him home? Neji stood and got between Ino and her victim. Ino, calm down, we did try to get him to come back but he said he couldn't. Everyone just turned and looked at him and Ino started to take a step towards him but Sai grabbed her from behind. Let them explain. He looked over to Neji. Please tell us what happened. Neji sat down and they all knew that he was going to tell them literally everything. Flashback. No way. Naruto. Is that really you? He looked over and his expression gave way to his shock. How did you guys get in here? His visible eye was as big as a dinner plate. He began to slowly walk towards them until Neji got into a defensive position. Hey, take it easy, Neji. He held up the cat. I come in peace, or do you really want me to beat the crap out of you again? Neji stiffened. Sorry if I don't trust random people who waltz out of the forest. Hinata put her hand on her search brother's shoulder. Hinata. You can't seriously believe this guy. He glanced at her and saw that she was using her Byakugan. He's telling the truth, Neji. It really is Naruto. Neji glanced back to the blonde who was standing completely still and holding the evil cat. So, Naruto, do you mind if I'm paranoid and give you a pop quiz? The blonde smirked. Not at all, Neji Hyuga. Well, you answered the first question correctly. He pointed at Hinata. Who is this and what is her relation to me? That is Hinata Hyuga and she is your cousin. And before you ask, that is Choji Akamaki. How'd you beat me in the Chunin exams? Haha, I burrowed underground and delivered a left hook to your jaw. He smiled as if remembering a good memory. Then Sasuke was taken by Orochimaru's creeps and then I was sent for, and now here I am. Well, you really are Naruto. Wait, what do you mean by sent for? We thought you were taken against your will. Well, I was, at first. Now I don't really mind. I mean, I've learned so much from this group. He said as he zipped the hissing cat back into the pack. So who took you? Naruto's expression turned serious. I'm sorry guys, but I can't tell you. Hinata looked so hopeful. Normally I would, but now I don't think I can leave, even if I wanted to. Her face fell into an expression of such sadness that Naruto thought that his heart would fall apart. What do you mean? You're not coming home? Fresh tears sprang into her eyes and Naruto couldn't ignore the pained feeling in his chest as the tears slipped down her cheeks. But we are all miss you so much and why you, she couldn't continue because now she was crying too hard. Naruto's heart was splitting. He cared for Hinata a lot but not the way she and Kiba cared for each other. He wrapped his arms around her and rocked her while stroking her hair. I'm sorry Hinata. I really am. And I do miss you guys more than anything else but I can't come home right now. There's still so much I haven't been taught yet and staying here I can learn everything. She looked up at him and studied his face carefully. The tears had dried but her eyes were still red. Do you promise? On your ninja way Naruto Uzumaki, promise me that you will come back soon. Naruto was taken aback by her sudden boldness but he smiled, stepped back, and raised his right hand. I swear on my ninja way that I will come home soon, sooner than you think. She smiled then stepped forward and smiled then looked down. Naruto. Yes, Hinata. She reared back and punched him as hard as she could, sending him flying into a tree. Joji and Neji's eyes bugged out as Naruto staggered out of the remains of the tree rubbing his cheek. What was that? That was two things, she said with a smirk, one, Sakura's wishes and two, your punishment for not telling us you were okay sooner. He gaped into the look of innocence in the lavender eyes. Actually you should be glad it was me instead of anyone else. I mean Sakura can hit a ton harder than me and what everyone else was planning was a lot worse than the one punch. I know for a fact that what Gaara had planned out you wouldn't have staggered back to him anytime soon. Naruto gave a cocky half smile. Kiba doesn't know what he's gotten himself into. He started laughing before he crashed into another tree. Joji had finished his chips and was laughing his head off as Naruto was, once again, walking away from the splintered mess. Okay, you totally deserved that one. Naruto glared at the boy who was doubled over laughing and then cast a glance to Neji who was smiling. Hinata was standing there fist in the air. Got anything else to say? Yeah, you've been hanging out with Sakura War I Toomyu. They all watched as his expression changed from an irritated scowl to one of horror. Naruto. What's wrong? Then they felt it. Their ninja training alerted them to a number of bodies that were behind them. Don't move a muscle until I say so. Naruto was reaching behind him and pulled a kunai from his pouch. Jump to where I'm standing, right? His body was getting tense as he prepared to leap the distance, now. The three leapt from their position and Naruto leapt to theirs. They managed to turn to see Naruto slash the creature's face and see it rear back and rake its claws down his arm. He looked up, stop this. Let them go, they didn't do anything and if they stay then they will try to help me. From the sky came a sigh and then a deep male voice echoed through the air. Very well my boy. I see your point and will allow him to leave. Naruto, are you okay? Joji took a step towards the blonde when he landed next to them. The sight of his go-red arm made Hinata take a step forward with her Byakugan activated. Naruto stepped in front of her. No. If you interfere then we will be killed. She stepped back in shock. But Naruto, your arm, she gasped when he turned it over, grimacing in pain as he lost more blood. I can see the bone. Naruto turned and glared the strange wolf-like creatures. The one that cut him was Radar and he was licking the blood off of his claws. 5-inch claws. They have to be at least 5. Joji gasped when the river, Naruto, and the wolves began to disappear. What's going on? You were allowed just a glimpse into the simulator so you could talk to me, but now that the threat is here you are being forced to leave. Naruto, you have to get out too. But the blonde calmly shook his head. No Joji, this is a test that I've been assigned and I must complete it before I am allowed to exit this simulator. What will we tell Ino? Joji looked scared and Naruto laughed as the world wavered. Just tell her what happened, and tell them that I miss them and will be home soon. And then he completely vanished leaving Neji, Joji, and Hinata staring into the empty space. End flashback. Everyone was completely still as the story hit its mark. Sai had wrapped his arms around Ino to keep her from falling over but after a minute she found her feet, and her voice. That little knucklehead. He would stay to learn something rather than come home. What an excuse, I can't leave right now, my butt. Actually he was being completely honest, and he did say he would come home soon. Joji was finishing another bag of chips and didn't look up when he said it but it hit home to Ino. Yeah, I guess you would know cause you were there. But still, I wish that he would come back now. I hope he's okay in that simulator. I know I probably would have tried to heal his arm if I saw the bone. Sakura was looking at her hands, but once again, I couldn't do a thing since I wasn't there for him. Sasuke wrapped his arms around her and gently placed his lips to hers. I know you too well, it's easy to see when you're beating yourself up. She glanced into his onyx eyes and lost herself. With all their friends standing nearby, she went in for another kiss. Holy miso ramen. This hurts like a mother. Naruto had gotten away and went farther down the river to rinse out the cut when he realized he was yelling. It was much worse than he thought. He didn't realize it at the time, but it turned out that Radar's claws could also cut into the victim's chakra network and, depending on the severity of the wound, could take their chakra and convert it to use for itself. This explains why it licked the blood from its claws. Naruto's gash was pretty severe. He cut off the sleeve on his right arm and lowered it once more into the cool flowing water. He was instantly blinded by the searing pain coursing up his arm and spreading throughout his body. He was gasping for air as the burning sensation turned to a tingling sensation and black spots danced across his vision. He lay completely still and slowly turned his head to watch the red liquid flow into the clear water as the current carried the blood away until he lost consciousness. Naruto felt awful as he slowly opened his eyes and let them adjust to the darkness. He steadily started recall what he was doing laying by the river. Oh, right. I got injured and was cleaning the wound when I must have passed out, probably from blood loss. He raised his arm, suppressing the moan that was threatening to make itself heard. The skin was ragged, but he could clearly make out each individual cut, and the bleeding had slowed a lot. He tried to convince himself that it was a good sign, but in his gut he knew that if it wasn't bleeding profusely, it was probably because there wasn't that much blood left to flow out. And judging by how weak he felt, the amateur assessment was as good as any other. He glanced to the limp black thing in his left hand, and it took him a minute to realize it was the sleeve that he cut off hours ago. He sat staring at it until he felt that he had braced himself enough to tie the sleeve as a bandage. He wound it as tightly as he could, ignore the pain in his arm. Just like Sakura once said, grit my teeth and bear it. But crap, this hurts. He managed to finish it and then thought of what he should do. After taking inventory, he decided that he should find something to eat to get his energy back. He filled a bottle with the water from the river, deciding that a good layer of mud will cover his scent nicely as well as give him good camouflage. He flipped his hood over his head and put a kunai in his hand as he set out to find food before he ran out of energy. He remembered Iruka-sensei explaining that if a ninja couldn't find food when he was low on energy, that he would eventually collapse and never get up again, as his body would slowly deteriorate into nothing. Maybe I should just lay down and rest, just for a few minutes. He started to slow his pace and leaned against a tree for support. Just 1 minute, then I will start again. He could feel himself slipping, losing his grip on the tree as he slumped to the ground with a groan. I can't give up. The last thing he remembered was the thought of Narelle waiting in the observations tower watching him wither away. Naruto. Kizuo had to hold his sister back before she ran through the door into the simulator. She was freaking out when he got cut, and it overrode any jealousy she felt when he embraced the black-haired girl, but when he walked into the forest and collapsed, she snapped. Kyuubecky, let me go. He's gonna die. Narelle, you know as well as I do that he won't die from this. He's stronger than that, a lot stronger than that. She stopped struggling halfway through as she heard Naruto talking to himself. You have to get up, Naruto. Do it now, Naruto. The twins walked over to where Master was standing with an unreadable expression. In a minute they all shared the same expression. Use the tree, reach for the branch and wrap your fingers around it. There we go, now lift slowly. He's ordering himself using sheer willpower. Didn't think that it'd get a student with such a strong will to live. Master was almost inaudible. Even though I do favor him, I can't show it in front of the others. That may start fights and eventually we'll end up with more dead. Naruto, I wish we were there to help you. Kizuo looked down to his sister. Well, Narelle, didn't think he'd ever see that look on your face ever again. The brunette's face was full of emotion and determination, willing the blonde teen to come back to the safety of his friends. I think there is something stronger between those two than friendship. Naruto was standing now. He looked back and forth slowly before it seemed that he knew where the camera was, because he was looking into it right at the twins. If you guys can hear me, know that it's against my Nindo to die, before I become Hokage. Also, his eyes seemed to pierce through the screen as they shifted to Narelle. Narelle, know that if I make it back, I expect one heck of a welcome home alive hug. His grin broke through what seemed to be a permanent grimace of pain only for a second, as he began to push on, defying death with every step. Inside the simulator. Get up, you have to get up. His words were barely above a whisper, but they were audible enough. The memories of Narelle and Kizur were getting stronger until it froze on a picture that they took with Ma sitting and laughing at the lunch table. You have to get up, Naruto. Do it now, Naruto. He forced more strength into his voice, knowing full well that the wolves could be nearby. Use the tree, reach for the branch and wrap your fingers around it. He slowly reached for the branch using his good arm. The arm that didn't send molten lava through his veins when he moved it. He slowly wrapped each finger around the branch as he shot up a prayer that he wouldn't collapse. He didn't think that he could get up or even wake up again. There we go, now lift slowly. Slowly he slid his legs under himself and pulled himself up slowly. His eyes were well adjusted to the dark already, and the moon was incredibly bright, casting an eerie contrast between patches of lights and the dark shadows. He looked in both directions before focusing on an area where he knew that there was a camera hidden in the foliage. The image of Narelle and Kizur standing in front of the large screen. Watching him struggling to live scared him. If you guys can hear me, know that it's against my Nindo to die, before I become Hokage. Also, he lifted his other arm to help support him on his shaking legs. Narelle, know that if I make it back, I expect one heck of a welcome home alive hug. He smiled when he thought of her, smiling back at him. Alright, they expect me to come back and I will do just that. He used the kunai that had stayed in his hand to saw off the branch he'd used to get up and used it as a cane. Trying to keep quiet, he walked deeper into the forest, slowly glancing from right to left looking for something to eat until he heard rustling behind him. He stiffened and slowly slinked into some bushes, praying that it would be something to eat instead of something that would eat him. Outside the arena, Narelle's heart was beating so loud she thought the others must be able to hear it. She knew that it was Radar that was trying to stalk him, even though he was just as bad off as Naruto with that gash to his face. The rest of the pack ran him off, thinking that he was now just a liability because he couldn't see or hear, but as long as Naruto moved he was able to track him. Be careful, Naruto. Inside the arena, he tried to slow his heartbeat down, but he was so glad that it was pumping so strong again. He froze under the bush as he watched Radar limp out into the clearing. The gash on his face was infected and still bleeding heavily. His tracking only worked if the target was moving, but if the target was completely still, then his ability was worthless. Okay, I can't move too much, so it's a good thing I have kunai already out. How sensitive are you, Radar? He moved his hand with the kunai back to throw it when Radar growled and turned to his direction and walked cautiously over to the bush. Naruto didn't dare even blink. He was barely breathing as Radar's low growl grew louder until the mutated creature was standing over him, looking farther into the distance. Outside the arena. Holy crap. Kizur was quiet for most of the test, but when Radar was literally 2 inches away from Naruto's face, he couldn't hold the words back. They could clearly see that Naruto wasn't really afraid, just irritated, extremely irritated. Hope he's able to keep his cool and take out the mutt. He glanced to Radar's screen. It was patched with red and black as some blood covered his eyes. Inside the arena. Stupid wolf thing. Move your fat butts or I can kill you. He sat desperately, fighting off the urge to grab the creature's head and throw it into a tree with a kunai following closely. Yeah, sure, he'll totally understand what I'm thinking and walk away. He sat there stewing until another noise took both of their attention. Strange muffled snorts and grunts coming from some bushes across the clearing. A short, ugly pig-looking creature waddled out and froze when its beady eyes locked on Radar's scarred face. Radar was hungry, suffering from serious infection, and couldn't find the target he was so desperately hunting. The mutt's mind was made up and it turned slowly and faced the new prey. The pig didn't know about his special ability and began to turn its body to follow Radar's. Wow, what a convenient distraction. Naruto thought as he watched with fascination as the strange pig put up a pretty good fight. Outside the arena. Look at his face. Kizur was on his knees pointing at Naruto on screen. What kind of expression is that? Narelle glared at her search brother, but on the inside she had to agree. Naruto's expression was like shock, amazement, happiness, and confusion, all in chibi form. Honestly, Kizur, get a hold of yourself. How do you think you'd react if you were injured under a bush with a strong enemy barely distracted that could find you if you even twitched? Kizu stopped laughing and slowly rose. Well, that killed it. Good. Narelle kept her eye on Radar as he was now standing over the defeated pig. Her expression displayed her feelings and Kizu patted her head. Don't worry, he'll think of something. He'd better. Master just smirked at the sibling rivalry. Inside the arena. Great, now that he's started to eat the pig, maybe I can get away. He slowly started to rise to his knees, freezing every time Radar even hinted at stopping and turning. Naruto rose to his feet, leaving his cane and pulling his arm back. Radar took one last bite and turned his head right as the kunai lodged itself into his skull. He swayed on his feet before releasing a long low moan as he fell to the earth with a thud. Naruto staggered forward and wiped the sweat from his head, freezing when he felt something wet on his arm. He touched his makeshift bandage and his fingers came back red and sticky as the world began sway. Crap it. He sat down near the go-red pig and slowly started a fire and began to roast what was left with some berries from a nearby bush. He sat watching the fire eat away at the leaves and dead branches. Well, 3 down and 4 to go. He lay back after dousing the fire. There are so many stars, I wonder how everyone is doing back home. His eyes slipped closer and closer together as his mind drifted miles away. Naruto, what are you doing out there? Sasuke was on the roof the night after returning from a B-rank mission. He looked up and saw that the night was the most clear he's seen in a very long time. Can you see them, Naruto? He spoke to himself, recalling his friend's attraction to the nighttime. I don't think he'd miss it for the world. Sasuke turned slowly and opened his arms and let his pink-haired lover slip into them. Why did you come up? Something just told me that I needed to see the stars tonight. Something along the lines that maybe Naruto is seeing the same thing that we are. Sasuke slowly turned and stared at her as she smiled knowingly. I had the same feeling, that he is looking at the same stars as us and is thinking about us right now. Sasuke, Sakura, Naruto was looking at the stars when he thought of the first 2 people that had actually acknowledged him as a person. A bright star flashed across the clear sky and vanished as it flew farther and farther away. I wish I could see them again. Outside the arena. I think I can grant that wish, Master smiled as he flipped a switch. Inside the arena. Naruto sat up when the sky and surroundings started to waver and a large holographic building appeared. What the heck is going on? That is Sakura's and Sasuke's apartment building. Sasuke, what's going on? Sakura clung to his arm and watched as the rest of the buildings all around started to waver and vanish. They stayed perfectly still as a strange dark forest replaced the scenery of Konoha. What the heck is going on? A voice from the ground below snapped them out of their trance. That sounded like, they looked at each other and ran to the edge of the roof, and what they saw brought tears of joy to Sakura's eyes. Naruto. The blonde looked up and saw the 2 friends standing above him. Their faces disappeared before the rest of them appeared as they jumped over the ledge down to their long-lost friend. Sakura ran straight for him, knocking him down. Ah, I missed you too, Sakura, but I think your boyfriend isn't comfortable with our position. She got up and quickly went to Sasuke's side. Naruto stayed on the ground, making no attempt to hide the pain he was in. I'm sorry, did I hurt your arm? No, the bleeding started up before you guys managed to get in. By the way, how'd you get in at all? Sasuke stepped forward and helped his friend up. We're not sure, the world got very hazy and then this all showed up and, well, here we are. Sakura was healing his arm while Sasuke quickly put the whole story in a nutshell. Thanks, Sakura, it feels a lot better now. Yeah, well, you're lucky it didn't get infected like that thing's face over there. She trailed off as she walked closer and got a good look at it. Is this the thing that Neji was talking about? One of those strange things that you have to fight? Naruto nodded. I assume that they were wolves at one time, and over the years some of the scientists, doctors here did some experiments. Sasuke motioned with his chin. Which experiment was that one? I called that one radar, cause just like his name he seemed to have a built-in motion detecting radar in his head or something. Crud, Sasuke said as he prodded the thing with a stick until it rolled over. It's got some nasty looking claws and teeth. Yeah, I know, Naruto said while motioning to the puckered scars on his arm. He rakes the skin and the chakra network and is able to convert the chakra as his own energy. They both turned to stare at him when they seemed to flicker and fade. Naruto. Guess our time's up, take care of yourself guys. Our time would be up right as we got there and saw him. Sasuke muttered through clenched teeth. At least I was able to heal his arm, right? Yeah, that's one less thing we'll have to worry about now. Well, that was quick. Naruto turned back to the fire to see that they were waiting for him. He didn't know how they did it, but they got there in perfect silence and now they didn't wait. Naruto had to leap onto the nearest tree branch as two mutts landed where he was just standing. He paused and looked over to Alpha, who seemed to have a smug grin on his face. Naruto jumped from the branch to another across the clearing as Nose snapped his massive jaws shut with an echoing crack where his leg used to be. He began to leap from tree to tree, only pausing a second to see that they were lagging behind. I've got to make it to the tallest tree. They can climb well, not at all very high. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.